A very good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all of you. A very warm welcome to all of you to this webinar from GMATWhiz. Today, we are going to look at mastering the strengthen and weaken questions that you see on the GMAT CR. So, all of you out there, I would love to hear back a hello from you so that we know. I know who I am interacting with. You know me. You can see me. I can't. So I'd love to hear your names and hello from your end, where you are at, what you're doing currently. And today's session, again, hopefully is going to help all of us. So while I set up the agenda, as I said, I would love to hear back a hello from your end. Hi, Pranav. Pranav with a W. Let's see who else. I can see a lot of you are there, but of course the names are not reflected. So I would love to see the names from your end, guys. Before, while you wish me a warm hello, let me from my end um, quickly set the agenda of the day. And let me quickly also introduce myself at the same time. So let me just start sharing my screen, guys. And once again, wishing all of you a warm welcome. Depending on where you are, it's a good. Hopefully, it's a good morning to you, and if it's an evening, then a very good evening. So let me see. I've got Pranav, Sarah, Mitul, Kshitija, and okay, great. So those are the names I have for now. But then I can see a lot more of you are there. So please say a hello to me so that I know your names and we can connect at least that way. And let me start sharing my screen, guys. Give me a moment. Here goes my screen share. It takes a bit of a time here. Okay, cool. So let me know if you can see the screen, guys, clearly. Hi, Jayant. Guys, do let me know if you can see the screen clearly. And once again, a very warm welcome to all of you watching this session today. In today's session, guys, we are going to look at three very important steps that are going to help you master, strengthen, and weaken questions on the GMAT CR. We know that majority of the CR questions figure from these two areas, and therefore it is very important that you do not make any slip-ups on these questions. I am your host for the evening. My name is Sunita, and I'm the verbal head and the lead course architect at GMATWhiz. And let's hope I can help you find simple solutions to not so simple problems. So that's good enough about me, I guess. What we're going to learn today is how to analyze the stimulus for the most effective results. That's step one. That's the first and most important and the most effective step for you to be able to solve the CR questions with accuracy. The next step is to understand scope of the conclusion. Yes, guys, you've got that right. A lot of times we eliminate choices by saying this choice is out of scope, that choice is out of scope. But do we really ever understand the scope of the conclusion? And finally, I'm also going to look at the third step, which is eliminating answer choice based on the scope. Yes, on the scope that we are going to look at in the second step. Now, a lot of you must be wondering, where is pre-thinking? Well, in this particular session, I'm going to show you how the scope of the conclusion can be figured into your pre-thinking. And along the way, we're going to solve a lot of hard, strengthen, and weaken questions. So guys, I hope you are as excited as I am. Okay, great. So thank you for letting me know, Jayant and Sarah, that you can see the screen. And I also hope all of you can hear me as clearly as well. So guys, all ready, steady, and on your marks, get set. Shall I say go? All ready, guys? Are you all ready? A warm yes, a loud yes is going to let me know you're ready. And I can just quickly show you the first question. I'm going to show you the first question and then I'm going to delve into the process. So guys, let me know if you're ready, all of you. Okay, great. Wonderful. Okay, so here's a small request, guys. Hi, Andrews. There's a small request here. While you're solving the question, some of you might solve it earlier than the others or faster than the others. Please do not post your answers till I request you to do so that will give everybody equal time to have an unbiased look at the question, all right? Okay, So I am going to bring up the question. I'm going to mute. I'm going to put off my camera. I don't want you guys to get distracted. So let's start with the first question. There it is on your screen, guys. You have 2 minutes, whichever methodology you follow currently, solve that question. And again, a request, guys, do not post your answers till I request. Thank you for that. And get going. Your time starts now. For those of you who have just joined, we are going to look at 3 simple steps to solving strengthen and weaken questions on GMAT CR. All right, guys. So you can start posting your answers. 2 minutes are up, in fact, slightly more than 2 minutes. And if you are done with your question, you can start posting your answers, guys. Once I have a sizable chunk of responses from you, then I'm going to show you the 3 simple steps that could be used to solve this particular question, guys. And of course, while you're posting the answer, do let me know how you found this question. Did you find it easy? Did you find it hard? Did you find it so? So thank you for your answers. I can see some answers. So Jayant believes the correct answer is A. Amarjit believes it's D. Rakesh believes it's A. Shoikot believes it's C. Daniel says C. Rakesh says A. Kshitija says A. Okay, so it's A and C and one D there. Yes, guys, there are a lot more of you out there, and it would be fun to have all of your responses. I don't mind waiting for some more responses. And guys, do let me know how you found this question. Was it challenging? Was it super easy? And if it was challenging, why? If it was easy, well, I shouldn't ask why, but then yes, if it was easy. Go ahead, guys, let me know. And I'm waiting for some more responses to come in. So Kshitija says CR is always hard. So Kshitija, here's the thing. You know, critical reasoning is something that humans are born to. They are born equipped with the rationale that is required for critical reasoning. You know, we call it critical reasoning, we call it logical deduction, we call it lots of things. At the end of the day, it is common sense, and I'm going to show you how. Just give me a moment. So guys, trust me, I am going to really simplify this question for you in a manner that will help you solve a lot more other difficult questions like this. Yes, guys, some more responses from your end would be great. so that I can straight away quickly start delving into the answer choices. I mean, in the deconstruction of the problem. Yes? So thank you, Daniel, Rakesh, Shoikot, Kshitija, Amarjit, Jayan, and I can see. What about Sarah, Andrew? Where are your answers, guys? Mitul, Pranav, would love to see your answers as well. Okay, I think I'm going to start deconstructing this. So, guys, I hope you are paying attention. Hold on to your questions if you have any. Hopefully, by the time I'm done with the discussion, your questions will get solved. And in case it is not any of your queries, I'm going to give you time to sort the queries. All right, so here I start. Now, one of the most important things to do, the first step is to analyze the stimulus properly, guys. And this is where a lot of us falter. We just read through the premise, we just read through the stimulus without really assigning proper roles to our information on the stimulus, without recognizing what the sentences mean, without correlating them. All right, this is what we do. So in the first step to mastering GMAT CR is to understand your stimulus properly, and that you can do by breaking down your stimulus properly. Here goes. So here is what you should do. You should try to identify the different components of your stimulus so that you understand how the argument is being built. Okay. First statement says ozone in the stratosphere. Okay. Let's say you don't know what is ozone, you don't know what is stratosphere. So you just know ozone in some place called stratosphere blocks deadly ultraviolet rays from the sun. So by reading the rest of the statement, you know, okay, ozone is something probably in the atmosphere and a stratosphere is some part of the atmosphere probably. And this ozone blocks the rays coming from the sun, something in the rays. Good. And then there is this transition word, but. Okay, pay attention to that. But CFCs in aerosols, so we don't know what are CFCs, let's say, and we don't know what are aerosols. We just know that we are talking about something called the CFCs. CFCs and in aerosols and other products have thinned this protective layer. So all of this is a premise, right? And so this is the first step. You understand that you are looking at a premise, you're looking at hardcore facts, and dumb down the facts in your own words. This long sentence actually just means CFCs destroy ozone layer. How do I know that? Okay, so I'm talking about layer here. This protective layer, probably it's talking about the ozone here. So ozone layer, that's how I got my ozone layer. Okay, because the ozone layer has thinned, I have got the destroy, and what thins them is CFC. So that is how I have got the summary of my first sentence, and it's just a fact. And right now I don't know how and why this fact is going to affect my argument. So it's a premise for me for the time being. Let's read on. Evidence of this. Clearly, the this here is referring to CFCs destroying ozone layer. Okay, see how I'm correlating, guys. See how I am correlating. Very, very important, correlating the various pieces of information. So the this I am correlating to CFCs destroying ozone layer. Evidence of this destruction is the ozone hole. Okay, now I have another term. So I had ozone layer, now I have ozone hole. Evidence of the destruction of the ozone layer is the ozone hole that forms over the south pole. So I've got the south pole, and little bit of outside information is brought in here, guys. South pole is what? This is definitely one of the ends of the earth, one of the poles. So the ozone hole forms over a certain place. Okay, every spring as temperatures drop below minus 78 degrees centigrade. And then we have a modifier here, the temperature. So this minus 78 degrees centigrade is the temperature at which ozone depletion occurs. This again is a fact, right? All right. And again, if I dumb down my fact, what do I have? Ozone layer destruction occurs at minus 78 degrees centigrade. Okay. So this is the, let's say, summary of my second sentence. So look at what information I have. I have number one, CFCs destroy ozone layer. and the destruction starts at very, very low temperatures. Great. Okay, next. Measurements of the ozone hole. Which ozone hole? The ozone hole that is caused by the destruction of the ozone layer. The ozone, so measurement of the ozone hole taken at various times this spring, that means this year, show that. So there must be people who have measured this ozone hole and they have measured it this year. Okay, show that compared with the same times the previous year. That means here is the equalizer. They are comparing the measurement taken this year with the measurement taken previous year. Its area, its refers to what? The ozone hole. The ozone hole's area diminished by 4 million square kilometers. Forget about the 4 million square kilometers. What we are saying again here is a core fact, and we are saying if we really look at the summary of this fact, it's saying the ozone hole is smaller this year compared to previous year. So if you really look at your data collection, point 1, ozone layer is destroyed by CFCs. Point 2, ozone layer destruction takes place at low temperatures, very low temperatures. And then suddenly the author is telling you that the ozone hole, mind it, not the ozone layer, the ozone hole is smaller this year compared to previous year. All are facts and we don't know why these facts have been given. I'm taking time over this stimulus, guys, because I want to show you how you can really master the CR questions here. Finally, we have nevertheless, which is another transition word here, another contrasting word here. Scientists have not concluded that the ozone layer is recovering. Clearly, this seems to be the conclusion of this entire paragraph. There is no other opinion mentioned. This is the only sentence which talks about a conclusion, and the conclusion is made by the scientists. All right. Again, if I simplify my conclusion, the scientists believe the ozone layer is not getting better. All right. If I simplify it, it means the ozone layer is not getting better. Now, please understand how the three premises are connected to the conclusion. If I look closely, premise 1, premise 2, and premise 3 are all facts, right? However, if we see the third premise, this one, the one that starts with nevertheless, is basically acting as a counter premise for the previous, okay, for the conclusion. So ozone layer is smaller this year is acting as a counter premise for the conclusion. It's not in favor of the conclusion. Ideally, if the ozone hole is going smaller, it is logical to conclude that maybe the ozone layer is improving, the ozone layer is recovering. However, the third premise is not really going in the direction of the conclusion. And we have to understand that. Why we have to understand? I'm going to show you immediately. So the nevertheless indicates a contrast, and the main conclusion here tells us that scientists do not believe the ozone layer is recovering or getting better, despite the fact that the ozone hole has definitely grown smaller this year, all right, compared to previous years. So guys, here premise 1 and premise 2 provide context for the main conclusion. Thus, in a way, they are forming the basis of the main conclusion, and therefore they support the main conclusion. However, premise 3 contradicts the main conclusion and thus acts as a counter premise for the main conclusion. This is the most important step in your CR on solving CR questions, guys. Do let me know if this is clear to all of you. All right. Do let me know if this is clear, because if you do this, if you form, let's say, if you make this sort of analysis a habit for yourself, you will not find CR hard. Kshitija, let me know if this helps you understand the problem better, guys. Do let me know, guys, if this sort of analysis has helped you understand the situation better. Quickly, then I'm going to show you how to derive the scope of the conclusion. The second step to mastering GMAT strengthen and weaken questions, guys. Thank you. The Kalyans has put forward B as the answer. Yes, guys, let me know if you have understood this process. Shout out a yes if you have. Go ahead, guys. Shout out a yes if you have. Do let me know. I would love to hear from you if this is all clear, because this is the first step, and a lot of times we all rush through this step. Rushing through the step is the worst thing that you can do. A lot of you have got this question wrong, guys. Yes, Kshitija, the portion after nevertheless is the main conclusion, because for one thing, there are no other sentences that form the conclusion in the paragraph. They are all facts. Okay. And in this case, the scientists is probably the only party that is drawing the conclusion of based on those facts. Okay. Thank you, Jayant, Amarjit. Guys, do respond. It makes me feel a little more energetic if you guys are responding. All right. So if this step is crystal clear, now let me show you how you can fix the scope of the conclusion. So a lot of us are not able to pre-think on all kinds of situations or all kinds of scenarios, guys. Okay. Therefore, if you're able to fix the scope, you will be able to eliminate what you call out of scope answer choices. Remember, most of the times we eliminate choices saying something is out of scope. So how nice it would be if you could actually learn how to fix the scope. You're welcome, Kshitija. So here goes, guys. I'm going to mute my camera once again, and let's get going with the explanation. All right. So this was the analysis step. Now let's move to the pre-thinking. So with the information that we have, the conclusion is scientists don't think that the ozone layer is recovering. All right, great. And this is despite the fact that there was a reduction in the size of ozone hole earlier this year, in the spring of this year. Okay. Despite that fact, they believe that the ozone layer is not recovering. All right. Is the reason given to us why they don't believe that the ozone layer is not recovering? No reason is given. Remember, they are just saying that ozone layer is not recovering, but no reason has been given to us. Rather, we have been told that the decrease in the ozone hole is not because the ozone layer is recovering. If I connect this counter premise here, okay, this is the counter premise. It is telling me ozone hole, okay, area diminished. And but despite that, I am being told that ozone layer is not recovering. Okay. So without giving any reason why they believe that, they have just told us that the ozone layer is not recovering. Clear? This is the conclusion. Fine. Here's how we are going to fix the scope of conclusion. Now, so scope of conclusion means the scope or range, okay, within which, it's taking me a little bit of time here, which the correct choice will fall. Okay, that is what I mean by scope of the conclusion. So here's it. We have to support the idea that ozone layer is not recovering even though ozone hole diminished this year. Correct? That means a within the scope choice will be any new piece of information telling us another reason that explains the reduction in the ozone hole, right? If the author here, if we are able to provide some other reason to explain the ozone hole reduction, that will indirectly support the conclusion that ozone layer is not recovering, the ozone hole is reducing for some other reason. Do let me know if this scope is clear. Amarjit, the question is 700 plus level. Guys, let me know if the scope is clear to all of you. Do let me know, guys, if the scope is clear to all of you. Yes, guys, is the scope. So take a moment to absorb this. Take a while to understand the different steps that I've laid down there. But actually, it's very, very easy, guys. It's really very easy and very simple to do this. So the step one was you understand your stimulus properly, you analyze your stimulus properly. Step two is using that analysis, you define the scope of the conclusion. All right. And now I'm going to show you how you will use this scope to eliminate incorrect answer choices. So Roy, don't worry if you're late. We have a lot more questions coming up, and I'm going to repeat the process in all of the questions. So don't worry. All right, Anirudh and Trivikram, thank you for that vote of confidence. Guys, I hope the others have also been able to understand this process of scope of conclusion, right? Okay. Now I'm going to show you how, without thinking of anything else, you can use this scope to eliminate choices one by one. So you've seen step one, an analysis of the stimulus. Okay. Step two, defining the scope of the conclusion, and step three will be eliminating the answer choices. Okay, so I'm going to focus once again on the screen here. All right, so here are the answer choices, and just to recall to your memory, most of you chose A or C as the correct answer. All right, most of you chose A and C as the correct answer. One of you chose D as the correct answer. Let's see what's the correct answer. Okay. So I'm going to, now what I'm going to do with the scope. When I read A, I'm first going to understand the meaning of A, and then I'm going to compare it with the scope of the conclusion to see whether A is giving me another reason explaining the reduction in the ozone hole. If it is not giving me an explanation, then I will chuck it out. All right. So here goes. What does A say? The ozone hole has steadily grown. Look at the word steadily grown in size every year, every year. So the trend is towards growth for the past decade, except this year. Now, if it has not grown this year, it is more likely to strengthen the conclusion that ozone layer is not recovering, right? Remember, if it has steadily grown in size every year, it means ozone, sorry, my bad. It was steadily growing every year. It means ozone, okay, depleting, ozone layer depleting. But if the exception is this year, it could mean that ozone layer, oh man, what have I written there? Sorry, guys. Ozone layer actually recovering. Okay, if the trend was towards a decline, except this year, so this year there is no decline. Sorry, this year there is no growth, except this year means this year there is no growth. So all the other years, the ozone was depleting. This year, the ozone is not depleting. Therefore, this choice is the opposite of what you need. It's more of a weakener. It is kind of saying that ozone layer is actually recovering, and therefore, A is not the correct choice. Guys, let me know if you have any questions on A. Let me know if you have any questions on A. And those of you who are interested in taking a sneak peek, at the trial version of our course, or if you're interested in booking a free call with our experts, I'm posting a link there for you guys to kind of do the same. So on screen, you can see there are two links that I have shared. One link is to try out the free trial version of our course, and the other link is to schedule a call with our strategy experts. And in the meantime, guys, do let me know if you have any queries on option A. Let me know, guys, quickly. Is option A clear to you? Is option A clear to you guys? Okay, so a lot of you marked A as the correct answer, and now you can see A is actually a weakener, it's not a strengthener. So Kshitija, as I said, that scientists are very clear that ozone layer is not recovering. all right? But A sort of indicates that if all the years ozone layer was going down and this year ozone layer is not going down, then it is more likely to support that yes, ozone layer is actually recovering. So this is actually weakening the scientists' conclusion. All right. Scientists are pretty sure that it is not recovering, and this is actually going in the direction of that, the fact that it is recovering. Okay, so I hope, Kshitija, it's clear to you. Remember, a decade it was going down, but suddenly something quite the opposite happens. So it's more likely showing that if this is true, if choice A is true, it is more likely to indicate that, well, the ozone layer might just be recovering after a decade. Okay. All right. Let me go to the second choice here. The length of the time that the ozone hole persists fluctuates from year to year. Now, the length of time, that means the duration, okay, that the ozone hole persists, that changes. So they are talking about the time and not the area of the ozone hole. If the time of the ozone hole keeps changing, all right, okay, it is something that we are not concerned with, because we are concerned with the area. And remember, the comparison was with the same times the previous year. All right. So even if the ozone hole persists at different lengths of time every year, this doesn't really tell us anything about the size of the hole. Okay, so this is out of scope. See, this is not giving you any reason to explain the reduction in the ozone hole. A is actually telling you that the ozone hole could be reducing because of the recovery of the ozone layer. Okay, so B is also out of your scope of conclusion. It is not another reason for explaining the ozone hole reduction. Okay, let's look at C. A lot of you marked C as the answer. As a result of international treaties, CFCs have been completely banned. If CFCs have been completely banned, guys, okay, then it is telling us that the ozone layer, okay, could very well be recovering. And that is why, okay, because CFCs have been banned, that is why the hole has diminished, and that is why we are saying that the ozone layer is recovering. So this is also more of a weakener, guys. It kind of shows that ozone layer could be recovering because the CFCs have banned. Remember, at the beginning we were told that CFCs thinned the layer. Okay, so if CFCs have been banned, then that could be a reason to explain the reduction in the ozone hole. And therefore, this would support that ozone layer is recovering. We have to show that ozone layer is not recovering. This is telling us the ozone layer is recovering, and therefore, so those of you who chose A and C, can you see how wrong your reasoning was? Guys, let me know if C is clear. A lot of you chose C. So all of you, please let me know if this is clear to all of you. All right. A and C are providing you information to show you that the ozone layer is actually recovering. A is telling us that all the other years ozone layer was growing bigger and bigger, but this year it's not growing bigger. So it is more likely that yes, the scientists are wrong. The ozone layer is really depleting. Similarly, if CFC are the reason why ozone layer is thinning, then if the CFCs have been banned and the ozone hole has reduced, it could be that ozone layer is truly recovering. Thank you, guys. So you can see A and C are not correct. Let's look at D. Weather patterns allowed unusual amounts of warm air to mix into the polar regions. If the warm air mixes, okay, what will happen? Temperatures will rise. And remember, we were told that, okay, 78 minus 78 degrees is the temperature at which ozone depletion occurs. So this is telling us that Okay, because the temperatures increased, that is why the ozone layer reduced, not because the ozone layer is recovering. So this is definitely giving us another reason why the ozone hole is there. Remember, we have to find another reason that explains the reduction in ozone hole. This is telling you increase in temperature is the reason. Increase in temperature is the reason, and recovery of ozone layer is not the reason. So this is telling us another reason behind the reduction in the ozone hole. Remember, that is our scope. So I'm going to keep D on hold. Human-made CFCs retain their ability to destroy ozone molecules for 75 to 100 years. This means that if you are using CFC once, the molecules are going to stay there for a long, long time. Again, this seems to support the conclusion that ozone layer is being harmed by the CSCs. Okay, this is more of a weakener, and therefore this is also not the correct answer. Choice D, therefore, correctly provides you another reason behind the reduction in the ozone hole and is therefore the correct answer. It is telling you that ozone layer is not recovering, rather temperatures are increasing. So do let me know, guys, if that is clear. This was the third step, okay, to eliminate the incorrect choices on solid grounds of reasoning and to come up with the correct answer, again based on solid grounds of reasoning. At GMATWhiz, we teach you all of these things, step by step. I'm going to show you those steps in a moment, but do let me know, guys, if this is all clear to you. And if we can proceed with the next question, guys. So thank you, Amarjeet, Anirudh, Jayant. Yes, all the other names which I can't see because you have to keep scrolling up the chat. But thank you everyone out there who is responding. Do let me know if the elimination is totally clear to all of you. If it is, I'm going to move on to the next question. I'm sure you're waiting for the next question. So do let me know, guys. Is it clear to all of you? I think there's a lag between my speaking and you being able to see. Okay, thank you, guys. So let's get started with the next question. But before that, quickly, the most common mistake that we make during the answer choice elimination, that is the ACE, is selecting out of scope answer choices. Okay. So at GMATWhiz, the correct approach to CR questions is to learn how to analyze the stimulus first. And then either you pre-think or you set the scope of the conclusion, and then you move to answer choice elimination. So how to analyze the stimulus in the most comprehensive manner is the first step, all right? And we teach you that step by step throughout the course. We have dedicated hours, okay, to help you identify the premise, the conclusion, the counter premise properly, all right? Much like the process that I've just shown you. And we have also, explained how to set the scope for different kinds of CR questions. So you have these genus 1 questions, which are the inference questions, the boldface questions, the flock questions, and then you have the genus 2, which is the assumption, strengthen, weaken questions. So we explain how to define the scope in each of these cases, and that helps you to eliminate choices on very, very solid grounds, much like the way we did just now. So here's the second question, guys. And you can get started on this question. Your 2 minutes. Again, to remind you, read the stimulus carefully. Identify the scope of your answer choice and then eliminate the answer choices which don't fall within that scope. All right, get going, guys. Your time starts now. And once again, I request you to hold on to your answer choices. Don't post them till I request you to do so. Thank you. All right, guys, you can start posting your answers. And once again, I would love to hear from you your feelings and reactions about this question itself. Alak and Yash have given me their answer. Let's look at some more. I'll wait for some more responses, guys. And once again, I'm going to show you that the stimulus analysis is a very, very important step before you are able to, answer the question correctly. All right. So far I've got answers B and C. I've got Alak, Yash, Amarjeet believing the correct answer is B. Anirudh believes correct answer is C. And I would love to hear back from the others, guys. Do participate. I can see so many of you out there, so please let me know your answers. Thank you, Jayant. Jayant also believes the correct answer is B. And do let me know, guys, have you been using, so were you kind of analyzing the stimulus the way I had shown you in the earlier question? Did you try that? Did that help? So I guess, all right, thank you, Vikram. Yes, guys, did you try to analyze the stimulus the way I showed you? Okay, Alak. Thank you for that honesty, Alak. Thank you very much. Very much appreciated. All right, Kshitija has also put in an answer. All right, guys. So let me show you how this question could be solved with ease. Now, when I'll share my experience with you. When I first solved this question, I was not immediately able to pick the correct answer. Okay. So whenever I solve a question, I always solve it under the simulated conditions, that thinking that this is the exam and I've got to solve the question in a certain time frame. Okay. And to be honest, I was able to pick the correct answer on this question through correct elimination of the choices, and that also because I was able to fix the scope of conclusion properly. It is only in hindsight, or let me put it this way, it is only that when I analyze the problem later on after solving it, that I was able to justify the correct answer. Okay, so this may happen to you too in the exam, guys, and therefore understanding the stimulus, setting the scope is very important for you to be able to eliminate four choices rather than just pick one correct choice. Okay, so here goes. I'm going to start off my analysis. Now, some species of Arctic birds are threatened. So we are talking about, there are some Arctic birds, and some of these Arctic bird species are threatened by something. What are they threatened by? Recent sharp increases in the population of snow geese. Okay, so basically, if I dumb down my sentence, I'm basically saying Arctic birds are threatened by increases in snow geese. That's it. It's a fact. So this here I have a premise. Which breed in the Arctic? So this, which is modifying snow geese. The snow geese that we are talking about, they give birth to their young ones in the Arctic and are displacing. So these snow geese are displacing birds of less vigorous species. Which means, what are the birds of less vigorous species? I can infer that probably the Arctic birds are not as strong, and therefore the snow geese are displacing those Arctic birds. Clear? All of this is a fact. Fine. And I don't know right now what this fact is going to tell us. Next, I go ahead and see that there is an although. Now, the moment you have an although at the beginning of a sentence, you know that that particular statement will contain a contrast. And in this case, you have to understand how that contrast is going to help you understand, or how that contrast is going to contribute to this structure. Although snow geese are a popular quarry for hunters. So basically, we are saying snow geese are quarry for hunters, means target for hunters in the southern regions where they winter. Now I'm thinking this they should logically refer to the snow geese, right? I mean, snow geese breed in the Arctic and probably they go to the southern region to spend their winters. All right. And when they go to these southern regions to spend their winters, they are a target, that to a popular target for hunters. Now, why is the author giving me this information here? Remember, in the first sentence, the author is telling me the population of snow geese is increasing and that is displacing the Arctic birds. Now they are telling us that these snow geese are hunted by hunters in the southern region. So probably some connection about hunting and number of snow geese will be made later on. Let's read on. The hunting season ends. So although snow geese are a popular target for hunters, the hunting season of what? The snow geese ends if and when the hunting has reduced the population by 5%, according to official estimates. So we are basically saying, in short, we are saying although snow geese are a target for hunters, the hunters cannot hunt more than 5%, right? We are being told hunters cannot hunt more than 5% of the total geese. So if there are 100 geese, the hunting has to stop if the number reaches 95. All of these are facts. So I have got lots of premise here. Okay. Now, if I ask myself, what is the relationship between premise 1 and premise 2? Okay. Premise 1 is telling me the number of snow geese is increasing and that's a problem. Problem 2 is telling me that snow geese can be reduced by hunting, but not much because there is a limitation. This is how the two sentences are connected. Let's read on. Clearly dropping this restriction. So clearly is a conclusion marker. So the author is drawing a conclusion based on premise 1 and premise 2. Dropping this restriction means removing 5% limit, right? Dropping the restriction, simple words, means removing 5% limit. Would allow other species to recover means will increase which other species? Arctic birds. This is the simplification of my conclusion. So my conclusion is, and let me quickly sum up the supporting facts. There is an increase in the number of snow geese and reduction in some species of Arctic birds. Hunters like hunting snow geese, but they have to stop when a certain limit is reached, and that limit is a 5% reduction in the overall population of snow geese. And based on that, the conclusion that is reached is removing the restriction on hunting will reduce snow geese population. All right. And this is removing the restriction on hunting will help us, okay, increase Arctic birds, which means the author is thinking that this will happen. So basically the conclusion is saying if hunters were allowed to hunt snow geese beyond the 5% limit, other species of Arctic birds would grow in numbers. Okay, this is what we have concluded. So the thought process is removing the hunting limit would let hunters hunt more snow geese, and if hunters hunted more snow geese, that would reduce the snow geese population by more than 5%. All right, clear, guys? So I think the sharing stopped. Give me a moment. I'll start sharing once again. Just give me a moment, guys. My screen stopped sharing. Yeah. Okay. My bad. Just give me a moment. Guys. Some glitch. Just give me a moment, guys. All right. Uh, 1 second. Let me just quickly share my screen. I'm just having some trouble here. Hold on a second, guys. Just give me a moment. I'll start sharing the screen. There seems to be some issue with the system, but won't take very long. In the meantime, just think of what I have just mentioned. Okay, I have got things back online. So let me share my screen. I hope, guys, you're able to see the screen now. Do let me know if you're able to see the screen. All right, I think you can. So as I was explaining that, the conclusion is if hunters were allowed to hunt snow geese beyond the 5% limit, then other species of Arctic birds would grow. So the thought process is really that if I remove hunting limit, okay, that would let hunters hunt more, and that would lead to the reduction in the snow geese population. This is the expansion of my conclusion. That's the thought process. Now, that means we were supposed to undermine the argument, right? Weaken the argument. So if the conclusion is if hunters were allowed to hunt snow geese beyond 5% limit, other species would grow in numbers, we need to prove that the above will not happen. What will not happen? Other species will not grow in numbers even if hunters were allowed to hunt snow geese beyond the 5% limit. So let's set the scope of conclusion. Okay. Any new information that proves that the removal of the hunting limit will not help in reducing snow geese population and thus not help in the recovery of other species of Arctic birds. So a weakener would be something like, for some reason, the hunters will not be able to or will not hunt more, right? We are saying the removal of the hunting limit will not help in reducing the snow geese population. Okay, so if we are able to show that the hunters will not hunt more, even if restrictions on hunting are removed, then we will get the weakener. Okay, clear so far, guys? Let me know if this is clear to all of you. Alak, let me know if the thought process is clear now. For those of you who were confused with this question, I hope this clears your confusion. Okay. Now let's see how this weakener that we came up with, okay, this is our scope also. What is the scope here? For some reason, hunters will not hunt more. So any choice that tells me hunters will not hunt more, even if restrictions on hunting are removed, is going to be my correct answer. Now let's see which choice falls within this scope. A says hunting limits for snow geese were imposed many years ago in response to, means because of, a sharp decline in snow geese. That means when the snow geese were reducing in number, hunting limits were put. Today, when I want to reduce the snow geese, what should I do? I should remove the hunting limits. So this is more of a strengthener. It is telling me, yes, if you remove the hunting limit today, then there will be a further decline in the snow geese, and that should help the Arctic birds to recover. So A is actually telling me that the plan to drop the restriction might work. So A is not the answer. Let's see what B says. It has been many years. It has been many years since. Since what? The restriction led to the hunting season being closed earlier. All right. So we are basically saying this sentence means for many years, okay, restriction did not lead to early end of hunting season. Now remember, we are being told that hunting season ends if and when hunting has reduced the population by 5%. But if for many reasons hunting season did not end earlier, it means what? It means that the hunters are not even hunting 5%. For many years, hunters not hunting much. All right. And therefore, I'm going to hold on to B. Let's see what C is saying. C is saying the number of snow geese taken by hunters each year is growing. If every year hunters are hunting more, and if I allow them to hunt more than 5%, then it's a strengthener. They are likely to hunt more. And we have to show that the hunters will not hunt more. So C is more like a strengthener. It is not within our scope and therefore it is out. Okay. Let's read D. As their population has increased, snow geese have recolonized. Recolonized means gone back again to wintering grounds that they had not used for several seasons. Now, this choice is out of scope because it doesn't tell us whether the hunters will hunt more or not. It just tells us that these geese have gone back to the wintering grounds that they earlier used to stay in, but have not stayed in for a long time. But we don't know whether hunters will hunt more or not. So D is out of scope. E. In the snow goose's winter habitats, the goose faces no significant natural predation. That means, in simple terms, we are saying that in the southern regions where the goose goes for winter, there is no natural predator that eats these goose. So if there is no natural predator, it makes all the more sense to allow the hunters to hunt more. So this is more like a strengthener for the plan to drop the restriction and allow other species to recover. And this is therefore also not the correct answer. So the correct answer is B, because that is the only answer which is telling us hunters may not hunt more, okay, because of earlier trends. And what are the earlier trends? They are not even hunting up to 5%, okay. So guys, do let me know if this is clear to all of you. Yes, guys, let me know if this is clear to all of you. I would love to hear from you guys. I have been speaking non-stop, but some sort of reaction from you would really help. So Kshitija, Anirudh, Alak, Vikram, Jayant, Amarjeet, Yash. Let's see any other names I can get. Roy, Trivikram. Then we've got the Kalyans, Daniel, Shoikot. Yes, guys, those are the names I can kind of go back to. Okay, great. Thank you, guys. So let's go to the next question. And once again, let me stress on the fact that the scope really helps. You would see that I'm not doing any pre-thinking, any more pre-thinking beyond understanding this, the stimulus properly and setting the scope of my conclusion and keeping that scope in my mind's eye. I am looking at each choice. All right, here. So here goes. Here comes up the next question, and I hope you enjoy it as much. So get going, guys. I'm going to mute myself. And in the meantime, let me once again quickly post the free trial link for those of you who are interested in taking a sneak peek at the free trial version of our course. I'll remove the link in a moment. So you can see the link right now on the screen. That's a link to the free trial version of GMATWhiz course. And again, if you are interested in setting up a free interactive call with our strategy experts, I'm going to also quickly put up the link there for that. So you'll see on screen next the link to set up a call with our strategy experts. You can do this for any of your queries. All right, let me hide that. Go ahead, guys. Solve this question. And once again, a request, please hold on to your answers. All right, let everybody give this a shot. All right, guys, time up. So, Kshitija, don't worry, please leave. All the best. And guys, you can start putting in your answers. I've got Anirudh's answer and I'm waiting for some more responses to come up before I start discussing this question. And again, in this question, there is a little bit of difference. You can see that half the answer choice is part of your question stem and the remaining half is part of your answer choice. Such questions are really very tricky. So go ahead, guys. Let me know your answers. You can start posting your answers, guys. Okay. So I've got Anirudh, Vikram, and Abhijit all rooting for C. Yes, some more responses would really be welcome. Don't worry, it doesn't matter if we are wrong. We all make mistakes on different questions, and I have made a lot of mistakes and then only learned. So Hamza has also posted C as the correct answer. Thank you so much, guys, for reaching out with your answers. It is something that gives me motivation to speak further. All right, guys. So while the others are posting more of, while I get more answers to that, let me start off with the analysis. All the best, Hamza. All the best to you. Hope that you take some learnings from this session and that helps you with your CR. All the best, all the very best. So, guys, let me start by dissecting the stimulus. Now, the stimulus is talking about a scientist is saying something, all right? Scientist is the author here. In an experiment, dogs had access to a handle. So we're saying there is an experiment and there are some dogs, and these dogs were given a handle. When we say access to a handle, they were given a handle. They could pull, so the dogs could pull this handle to release food into a nearby enclosure. All right. All right. So in my mind's eye, I'm saying, okay, there is a nearby enclosure. This is an enclosure. And then there is a dog here. Please, guys, don't mind my drawing. All right. And this dog is given a, handle. And this this dog can release food into the enclosure, okay, by pulling this handle. This is how I am imagining the scenario. All right. Enclosure that contained a familiar dog and nothing else. And then again, I have contained an unfamiliar dog and nothing else, or was empty. That means there are three enclosures. Okay. There are three enclosures. All right. And so my experiment facts are dogs can use a handle to put food into nearby enclosures. And enclosure 1 has a familiar dog. Enclosure 2 has an unfamiliar dog. And an enclosure 3 has nothing, no dog. All right. Okay. So we have probably three enclosures. One, and we have three dogs. Each of the dogs is going to be able to release food into the enclosure. Let's read ahead. The dogs typically released more food to the familiar dog. All right. So the results of the experiment are now being laid out. The dogs who had access to the handle, they released more dog to the familiar dog. All right. That means dogs put more food in enclosure 1 than in enclosure 2. Right? Clear? This suggests that the dogs are more motivated to help other dogs they know than to help unfamiliar dogs. So, because dogs put more food in the enclosure which had the familiar dog than in the enclosure which had the unfamiliar dog, based on that, certain conclusion is drawn. And the conclusion is dogs are more inspired to help familiar dogs than to help unfamiliar ones. All right. So that's the this kind of clarity you need to have about the scenario. And then we are being told the scientist's argument would be most strengthened. Which argument? This argument. Okay. We need to strengthen this argument. All right. And we need to strengthen that, yes, dogs are more inspired to help familiar dogs than to help unfamiliar ones. Correct? And then we are told this would be more strengthened if it were true that in the experiment. So there is this part. The dogs with access to handle tended to release more food when. So this is half of the correct choice, and every choice has to be added to this part and read. All right. So let's go ahead. The conclusion is dogs are more inspired to help familiar dogs than to help unfamiliar ones. So clearly here we are saying the cause behind the motivation, all right, is the familiarity with the dog. All right. Familiarity with the dog. And that is the reason the dogs are more motivated to help. So my scope of conclusion will be any choice that proves dogs are less likely to help unfamiliar dogs, or to actually show that familiarity is the real reason behind the help. Okay, so possible strengtheners would be there is nothing else. So remember, for every cause and effect relationship, one of the ways to strengthen it is to show that nothing else is the cause behind the helping of the familiar dog. So nothing other than familiarity is the motivation. That means, for example, nothing in the actions of the dogs in the enclosure is motivating the dog outside the enclosure to give the food. Or we can also show no cause, no effect. That means if there is no familiar dog in the enclosure, no food is released. And that means no motivation for help. So do let me know if this is clear, guys. Yes, Hamza. Now you can see, guys. So, guys, let me know if this explanation has made this clearer for all of you. Do let me know if this explanation, if the scope is very, very clear to you. I have found that even when I'm not able to pre-think, but if I'm able to fix the scope, I'm able to get my answers correct all the time. Okay, great, guys. Thank you so much for your response there. Let me move forward with the rest of it. So remember, we came up with two strengtheners. And the two strengtheners we came up with the help of the scope. So when I'm looking at A, B, C, D, E, I will start reading from here. The dogs with access to the handle tended to release more food when the behavior of the familiar dog was encouraged by a familiar person. So I am being given here that the familiar person was the reason and not the familiarity of the dog. So this is actually weakening the conclusion, right? It is telling me there is an alternate cause. There is another reason. Okay. So this is out. We have to show that there is no other reason. This is saying because the familiar dog was being encouraged by a familiar person, and that is why the dog was releasing more food. So A is out. Again, none of you marked A, most of you marked C. The enclosure was empty than when it contained an unfamiliar dog. This is, of course, out of scope because if the dog released more food when the enclosure was empty, what it doesn't show us that familiarity is a reason. If the dogs released more food when the enclosure was with an unfamiliar dog, then also the familiarity is not proved as a reason. So this is totally out of scope. Okay. Now, most of you chose C. So let me discuss C a little more clearly and carefully. Again, I'm going to remind you, please don't forget to read your answer choice by reading the portion of the question stem. The dogs with access to the handle tended to release more food when a familiar dog in the enclosure was displaying friendliness. That means it is friendliness or familiarity. Which one? Okay. So here we are saying the dog released more food when the familiar dog was displaying friendliness. But this puts us in a confusion. Okay. It doesn't tell us whether they were motivated to help or not, because it could have been the familiarity or it could be the friendliness that was being displayed by the dog. So this is more like a weakener. It says that maybe it was the friendliness displayed by the familiar dog that made these dogs release more food. So C is also out. All right. See, there is a comparison here. And remember, is it telling you that nothing in the actions of the dogs? It's telling you the opposite. There could be something in the dog's action, right? Is it telling me no familiar dog, no food? No, that is also not given to us. So C is a weakener at best. It does not indicate the motivation to help. All right. It kind of indicates the motivation to become friendly, it seems. D says the dogs with access to the handle tended to release more food when a dog in the enclosure. Now, a dog means which dog? Familiar or unfamiliar? I don't know. Okay. So clearly, this is a weakener because it also tells you that the dog appeared uninterested in the food. So they release more food when the dog in the enclosure appeared uninterested. Okay. So this is telling you that again something in the behavior of the dog caused them to release the food. So at best it's a weakener and definitely not a strengthener. You can also say it is out of scope. Let's look at the last one, which is the obvious one that is now going to be the answer. So the dogs with access to the handle tended to release more food when a familiar dog was in the enclosure. So familiar dog in the enclosure than when a familiar dog was visible but the enclosure was empty. Now this is the same. This part is the same as no familiar dog in enclosure. Compare the two. Okay, and therefore E is the correct answer. This proves that when the familiar dog was outside the enclosure and did not need help. Okay, familiar dog was visible but the enclosure was empty means familiar dog did not need help. It was not inside the enclosure, and familiar dog was in enclosure means it needed help. So if the dogs with the handle released more food when the dog needed help, it proves the point that they were motivated to help the familiar dog, and therefore E is the correct answer. Do let me know, guys. So Parth, Hamza is correct. How much time you will take for preparation depends on which level you are at currently, what you have already prepared, if your preparation is on the right track or not, a lot of things. All right. Also, it depends on how much time you can give daily. Somebody who can give time only for an hour or two every day, that person will probably require a lot more time than a person who can give 3, 4, 5 hours daily. All right. So a lot more things. In fact, Parth, let me share on screen. All right, the link to schedule a call with our strategy experts. You can set up a free call and ask them more questions on this, how much time it's going to take you and all that. They'll be glad to answer your queries. All right, Parth. So that link is for you and for those of you who want to talk to our strategy experts for any of their queries. Do let me know, guys, if this question is clear so that I can bring up the last question of the evening. Do let me know if this is clear, because most of you got this wrong. Most of you marked C as the correct answer, and C is not the correct answer here. So I want you guys to be able to see. So Vikram, the problem with friendliness is, okay, it could be, the motive could be to become friendly with the dog and that is why release food, or the motive could be to help. So we cannot have such an ambiguous answer as the correct answer. All right, Vikram. You are kind of assuming that friendliness is equal to motivation to help. I could be motivated to help somebody with whom I'm not friendly, but I just want to help that person. Okay. But if I'm friendly with a person, then it's not very clear whether I'm friendly, that is why I want to help, or because I just want to help. So, answer choice C isn't very clear on that aspect. All right. It tells us that familiar dog who is behaving friendly and unfamiliar dog who is not behaving friendly. That means, is it the friendliness which is the motivation? The motivation should be to help. You're welcome, Vikram. So, guys, let me know if this is clear and let me hide this. Thank you, guys. Yes, Hamza, C was a trap answer. In fact, I have fallen for such kind of traps many a times earlier, and I have become wiser now. And I have found that it is the scope which keeps you grounded, guys. If you keep looking at the scope before you look at every answer choice, you will not fall in the trap. The scope is clearly telling you that it should be familiarity which is leading the dog to release more food and nothing else. All right. Okay, guys, you're welcome, Hamza. So let me bring up the next question, the last question of the evening. Here it is. And I hope you enjoy this question. It's one of my favorites. So I'm going to mute myself while you solve this, guys. For those of you who have just joined us, we are looking at a very, very simple strategy to solve hard CR questions, especially strengthen and weaken questions. All right. And the strategy is a 3-step simple strategy of analyzing the stimulus properly, setting the scope of the conclusion, and eliminating the choices based on the scope of the conclusion. So get going, guys. Let me mute myself. So this is an especially hard question. So I'm going to give you another 30 seconds, guys. Go ahead, take your time. All right, guys, you can start posting your answers. Go ahead. Start posting your answers. All right, Hamza is saying B, I guess. Okay, let's see what the correct answer is. Yes, guys, would love to hear from the others as well. Thank you, Hamza, Anirudh. Come on, guys. Don't hesitate. Don't worry. In fact, getting questions wrong during your preparation, I would say, is a boon in disguise because it lets you see the kind of mistakes you're likely to make. I know of students who somehow got the questions correct during the practice mostly, and the mistakes that they made was more on the actual exam. I mean, they paid for it there. So I'm not saying definitely make mistakes, but it's okay to make mistakes. We learn a lot from that. So guys, please reach out and post your answers. As I said earlier, it's an inspiration for me when I see your answers and I see your interest in it. Thank you, Vikram. So Vikram 2 believes B is the correct answer. And let's see whether B is the correct answer or is it not. It's more along the lines of an evaluate question. Although then, since we are strengthening and weakening at the same time, I have kind of used it on this particular session to show you how to strengthen or weaken questions. Yes, guys, some more answers, please. Okay. I guess you're still solving it, or you have just joined and you will be solving it. So let me get started with the explanation. Here I go again. Let me put a bigger screen here. So thank you, all of you, for your response so far. And here I get started with my explanation. So we are being told that tiger beetles are very fast runners. Okay. All right. So some beetle, they run very fast. Remember, they run very fast. We are not saying they fly. They run. They are such fast runners that they can capture virtually any non-flying insect. Okay, so we are talking about beetles running. We are talking about insects on the ground, not the flying insects. And we are saying these beetles can catch any insect. All right, that's a fact there. Okay. However, so here's a fact given to us, and here's a contradiction. However, when running toward an insect, so if the tiger beetle is moving toward an insect, the tiger beetle will intermittently stop and then a moment later resume the attack. That means the word intermittently tells us it stops, then starts running behind the insect again. Attack means running behind the insect to catch the insect. All right. So this stop and start is happening, and the author is again providing a fact. All right. Let's see what fact is, why this fact is being provided. Perhaps. Now, the word perhaps tells you an opinion is going to come up, which means a conclusion. And whose conclusion here? Since no third party has been attributed with the conclusion, it must be the author who's saying perhaps, maybe. The beetles cannot maintain their pace. Cannot maintain their pace means what? They cannot run at the same speed. So, the author is probably trying to explain this stop and then this resume, stop, start. And they are saying that maybe the beetles cannot keep up their speed and they pause for a moment's rest. Okay. All right. So far, the supporting facts that we've read is tiger beetles are fast runners and they can catch any insect that does not fly. While chasing, the beetle keeps pausing intermittently, and then after that a hypothesis is being offered to tell us why. Okay, one hypothesis that we've been told is they get tired. Okay, they must pause for a moment's rest. All right, which means they get tired. But there's an alternative hypothesis that while running, tiger beetles are unable to adequately process the resulting rapidly changing visual information. If you really dumb this down, we're basically saying that while running, beetles are unable to process changing visual information. They are unable to process the changes that are taking place while they are running, and so they go blind and stop. That means there are two reasons to explain the pausing intermittently. Okay, two reasons given. All right, but there are alternative reasons. That means only one is valid at a time. Two reasons given, but only one valid at a time. All right, both are not valid because the author is saying this or that. So the two hypotheses which are mentioned is beetles pause because they are either tired and need to rest. Let's call this hypothesis 1, or have gone blind and stop. So either they stop because they're tired or they stop because they can't see. And we've got to kind of support one of the two hypotheses and undermine the other. That means the correct answer choice will at the same time support this and weaken this, or weaken this and support this. So we have to find that kind of answer choice. All right. Understanding the question stem itself is a very, very important function, guys, and it is part of analyzing the stimulus, or it is part of our first step. Let's move to the next step, and that is setting the scope of the conclusion. Now, this was the hypothesis, and we have to support one of the two hypotheses and weaken the other. How to set the scope? Okay. Any new information that proves the beetles pause to rest but they can see. Remember, hypothesis 1 was pause to rest, all right, and hypothesis 2 was blind. So we are strengthening hypothesis 1 and weakening hypothesis 2. Either we strengthen hypothesis 1 and weaken hypothesis 2, or any new information that says that beetles do not pause to rest, so we weaken hypothesis 1 and strengthen hypothesis 2. All right. So if we really look at our strengthener and weakener, it will be something along the above lines. The same choice telling you they pause to rest and can see, or the same choice telling you they don't pause to rest and go blind. So in other words, our scope is this: can see, resting is the real reason for pause; goes blind, resting is not the reason for pause. This is our scope, and when you take up every choice, okay, I'll do one thing, guys. All of you take a moment and look at the scope, and then you offer your answers. Okay, I'm going to give you 40 seconds. Look at the scope and examine every answer choice against the scope, and then answer me. Okay, you have 40 seconds, 45 seconds. Get started. I'm going to mute myself. All right, guys. So if you have, some of you may want to reconsider your answer choices. And even if you want to confirm your answer choice, please answer me in the chat box so that I also know that you were able to use the scope. Go ahead, guys. I'll wait for you to post your answers. Using the scope, try and see if you can pick the correct one. Just pick the choice which is either telling you that the beetles can see and pausing is the real reason, or the choice tells you that the beetles cannot see and pausing is not the real reason. So I can see that Sham earlier thought it was C and now thinks it should be B. Anybody else who'd like to put in their comments, guys, please go ahead. Thank you, Sham, so much. Thank you so much. Guys, anybody else who'd like to put in their views here, put in their choices? Vikram, Anirudh, Hamza. Vikram says it should be C. Vikram, I think, okay. Once again, I want you guys to be very careful here. So if you see, the correct choice should tell you either this or this, right? If we look at C, We are saying in pursuing a moving insect, a beetle usually responds immediately to the changes. So, can see, right? Can see. And it pauses equally frequently, whether the chase is up or down. Yes, Vikram? So, does that tell you the beetle is tired or not tired? Vikram? Look at the second part. It is telling you that the beetle is pausing equally frequently, whether it is running up the incline or down the incline. Imagine yourself if you're running upstairs and downstairs at the same speed. What does that mean? And if you're running upstairs and downstairs at different speeds, what does that mean? Yes, Vikram, tired, which means C is weakening both the hypotheses. So you were correct, Vikram, in the first instance when you said the correct answer is B. So let's see once again, okay? Let me discuss all of it. So A says, when a prey is moved toward a beetle, and remember the scenario was the prey is running away from a beetle, okay? This is saying the insect is moving towards the beetle. So the scenario is different. The beetle stops and runs away. It seems that the beetle can see, but why it runs away and whether it is pausing for rest or what, we have no idea. All right, so there is no impact on the second hypothesis. All right, it has an impact on the it has no impact on the first hypothesis. Okay, can see is hypothesis 2 is being weakened, but there is no impact on the other hypothesis. So this is out. B says, in pursuing a swerving insect, swerving means the insect is running zigzag. All right, zigzag. The beetle alters its course. That means beetle also changes its course, which means what? The beetle can see. The beetle can see. That is why it is altering its course. Pauses become more frequent as the chase progresses. If you are pausing more frequently as you are running, it means you are getting tired, right? So, can see and resting is the real reason. Both are correct here. All right. Can see and pausing to rest. All right. Because getting tired. All right. And therefore, B could be the correct answer. So I'm going to hold on to that. As I was saying in C, as I was telling Vikram earlier, that beetle responds to the changes in the insect's direction. It means it can see. But if it is pausing equally frequently, whether it is running up or down, it means it is not tired. Not tired, it can keep pace, right? So, can see means hypothesis 2 is weakened. No sign of tiredness means hypothesis 1 is also weakened. So, C is not the answer because both the hypotheses are being weakened. Can you see that, guys? How the scope will help you. If you see in the scope, I had defined two possible choices. One choice where you are told it can see and it is pausing for rest. The other choice that it goes blind and it is not pausing for rest. So if you really look closely, B falls within the scope of conclusion. C actually doesn't. It only partially falls within the scope and not fully. Guys, do tell me if this is clear to you, please. It would be really helpful for me as somebody who really wants to help students. I really want to help you guys to come up with simple solutions, to come up with methods that can help you. So do let me know if this is helping. Anirudh, is it clear now? Sham, Anirudh, and of course, those of you who already chose B. Do let me know if this helped. Great. Thank you so much, Vikram. And the others, if this helped you. So, Sham, whenever we learn something new, it takes some time for you to be able to do it for all questions, okay? Scope is nothing else but the kind of answer choice you're looking for, all right? And with practice, you get better at this. You don't always have to be very crystal clear, but you have to have a range within which your answer choice has to fall. All right. So in the earlier questions that we solved three more questions in the earlier part of this session. If you've defined a scope and every time you're looking at an answer choice and if it is falling within that scope, then it is clear enough for you to shortlist that answer. All right. So, guys, do let me know of your opinion on this methodology. All right. Let me also quickly finish off discussing the other choices as well. You need to practice, Sham. Just remember that. If when a beetle pauses, it has not gained on the insect it is pursuing, the beetle generally ends the pursuit. Again, it means the beetle can see, all right? Because it can see and it can see it has not gained, it gives up the pursuit. But again, here, so the hypothesis 2 is weakened, but there is no impact on hypothesis 1, so therefore D is out. The faster a beetle pursues an insect, fleeing directly away, the more frequently the beetle stops. Again, here it seems to indicate that hypothesis 1 is correct. It does get tired, but it has no impact on the others. So E is also out and B is the correct answer. All right. And guys, again, let me iterate what I was telling Sham a while back, that you need to practice. Okay. If you are ruling out a choice by saying it is out of scope, then it should be very, very important and simple to identify that scope. Otherwise, how are you saying this is out of scope? All right. In at GMATWhiz, we bucket the answer choices. We tell you the exact reason why something is the answer, why something is not the answer. And when you learn to bucket your choices this way, it is always easier. You are actually coming up with a solid reason to eliminate a choice, and the same skill you will be able to put into practice on the exam. You won't be doing any kind of guesswork here, guys. So that brings us to the end of today's session, guys. Um, if you have any queries that you'd like to put forward, please go ahead and ask. And in the meantime, I'm also going to quickly put up the two links once more there on the screen. If you are interested in looking at our methodologies a little more closely, you can quickly try the free trial version of our course. And if you are looking to give the exam within a few days or weeks, and you would like to talk to our strategy experts about it, you can set up a free call using the Calendly link. Other than that, please let me know, guys, if I can answer any of your queries before we sign off for the night. CR can only be made easy by decoding, by deciphering, by demystifying the stimulus. You're most welcome, Raghav. I'm glad that the session has helped you. Just okay, let me post the links separately. I think the links, just give me a moment, all right? I think there is a problem in the way I have posted the link. So go ahead, Raghav, ask your question, not an issue. And in the meantime, let me put up a more complete link if this link is not working. So there's the free trial link there. I hope this is going to work now. Yes, Raghav, go ahead with your clarification. I'm glad you enjoy the session, Vikram. I too enjoy taking these sessions because if I feel at the end of the day that I've helped even one student with even teeny weeny bit, it's motivation for people like me to go on. So most welcome, guys, all of you. Any questions you have, I'm there for the next couple of minutes. If you have any questions, please post them. Okay, so Raghav has asked a very good question. All right. Raghav is saying that between option B and option E, the word clarifying whether the insect can see is the word swerving. Raghav, let's say we don't know the meaning of the word swerving. Okay. Let's say we don't know the meaning of the word swerving, but we are told that it is pursuing the insect. All right. So if it is pursuing the insect, it means that uh, it could be pursuing in a zigzag fashion, in a straight fashion, or whatever. Now, option E, what was it telling us? Let's go back to option E. It's saying the faster a beetle pursues an insect fleeing away from it, the more frequently it stops. So we don't know whether it can see the insect or not. Maybe yes, maybe not. But if the frequency of the stopping increases with speed, then it means it might not be able to keep up pace and therefore it is pausing to rest. So it may be able to see, may not be able to see. All right. So the word swerving itself doesn't, but definitely the response to the fleeing away. So altering the course is actually the key here rather than I would say swerving. Swerving helps, but altering the course is more important in B. Absolutely. So Raghav is asking again another good question. So directly, let's remove the word directly. The faster a beetle pursues an insect, fleeing away from it. Even if the word directly is not, it seems to indicate that the beetle is running faster and faster. But we don't know whether it is running faster because just it's realizing that it hasn't yet caught the insect, or whether it can see the insect. So I'm not so sure that directly really performs the same function as swerving. All right. Even if it is not, we can't tell whether the insect can see the the beetle can see the insect or not. So it does give a hint of the direction, but not more than that. Yes, Raghav, is that clearer? Even if you remove the word directly, it seems to just tell us that the faster running is the reason why it is stopping more frequently. You're welcome, Raghav. So guys, any other comments, any other questions you have? Please, so this is just this last moment advice that I'd like to give to most of you. Maybe a lot of you are going to get the exam in a short frame of time from now. A lot of us believe that solving lots and lots and lots of questions is the key to acing the exam. I have had a lot of experience with private tutoring, and I have seen one thing consistently true for all questions, all students. It is not how many questions you're solving, guys. It is how you're solving the question. So, per me, solve a question, microanalyze your time, analyze your, let's say, expenditure of time. How much time you're spending on the stimulus? Are you understanding the stimulus clearly or not? Are you gaining clarity on the conclusion or not? I'm talking about CR questions. And see whether you're being able to eliminate the choices for proper reasons and with confidence. So analyze the solution thoroughly. So you might solve 10 questions and not analyze the conclusion solutions. Rather, you should solve just 3 or 4 questions, but analyze the solutions thoroughly to learn from them. Okay. You're welcome, Raghav. No issues. You can always watch the recording on YouTube later on. Okay, let's see. Anirudh is saying, couldn't it also mean that since the insect is swerving continuously, it needs to recalibrate the direction? Hence, it is pausing. So, Anirudh, we are kind of joining too many things into the same thing. Yes, it could mean that the swerving is, needs recalibration of the direction. All right, definitely. But even if the insect runs in a straight line, it would need to process the changing information. Even if it is swerving, it would need to process the changing information. All right, so either ways. All right, Anirudh. So B is more likely to kind of tell you that it is changing direction because it can see the insect changing direction. All right. Yes, that's what I was saying, Raghav. Exactly. Whether it's recalibrating or not, it will definitely be able to see. All right, it does support, it doesn't support both the clauses. I mean, I think what you're trying to ask, Raghav, is it supports the fact that it has to process the changing visual information, yes. All right, but if it is swerving at every zigzag of the insect as well, it means it is able to see, it is not going blind. So that means if it is stopping, then it must be stopping because it is getting tired. I hope that clears things up for you, Raghav and Anirudh both. As I said, this is one of my favorite questions. It has so many things going for it, so many nuances. I kind of imagine I'm the tiger beetle, and if I'm running after an insect, what would I be doing? So, guys, let me know if there's anything else. Otherwise, let me redirect you to the next slide. You can reach out to us at gmatwiz.com, or you can write to us at support@gmatwiz.com. You can access us at that WhatsApp number as well. So do let us know if you'd like to connect with us. And of course, there is the free trial link there. I'll once again quickly share the link to the call with the experts, just in case you're interested, anybody of you. So there's the link to the experts. Yes, it's the lesser of the two vaguenesses. Yes, and that's a very good way of putting it. Thank you, Anirudh. That's exactly the way I am, the way I would have seen it also. It's the lesser of the two evils. And remember, when you're trying to strengthen or weaken, it doesn't quite work like the assumption questions. There's always that small margin. All right, guys, with that, let me end the session. It was lovely interacting with all of you. Um, it was really, really, really fun. And hope to see you guys again soon, sometime very, very soon. I'll bring up more such sessions for you and hope you benefit from that. So have a good day if you're just beginning your day, and good night if this is the end of today for you. All the very best, guys. Happy learning. See you around again. Bye.